Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for August 18th, 2022. Just a couple of things before we start. If you could, please mute your phones. And let's see, I'm winging this, so. We'll call on you when your case is in order, and you'll present your case. And when you do, please try to keep it to around 5 minutes on the explanation. And then anybody that would like to protest or has issues with the case, they can have the same amount of time. I think that's it. And this meeting is called to order. Need to receive the minutes of the August 4th, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to receive the minutes for the August 4th, 2020 meeting. And we'll get a voting pane. There we go. And also there's only 3 of us today, so you'll need all 3 votes for your case to pass. And the minutes are received. Continuance requests and withdrawals, seeing none.
Staff has none, but I believe there's
Okay.
someone present in the
Okay,
audience. that
is
wants
there
to
anybody
continue.
here that needs to continue their case? No, maybe? No?
No.
Okay.
Oh, just change your
All
mind.
right. Let's see, that'd be the consent docket, seeing nothing. Moving on to items requiring a separate vote.
Okay, first item for public hearing is item 1, case 15077. It's a request of Derek Hicks for a variance to the setback regulations in 1804 West Park Place.
Is the applicant here? Come up. State your name, address, and just give us a brief rundown of your application.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for seeing me today. My name is Chris Jones. I'm with Coldwell Banker Mike Jones Company here in Oklahoma City, and I'm the representative of the property that you see before you regarding this house building line violation. I'm not going to keep you very long at all. I thought that the summation of the staff report is pretty much hit the nail on the head. We have a situation where a homeowner that I was trying to list, I'm trying to sell the property for, that remembered that he had a building line violation, and once we discovered it at the time of title, the buyer decided to not continue the sale of the property because he didn't feel that it was necessary for him to have to deal with after closing. So he canceled the sale, and then the relocation company, who I also represent as well as the transferee, stated the same thing, that until this was passed, that they weren't able to, proceed with closing and so forth because of the issues that it prevented. So that's pretty much it. If you want further detail other than what's provided on the staff report, I'm happy to oblige.
Great. I reviewed it. One thing that I wanted to see was kind of maybe a visual representation, maybe looking down the sight line, but
I'm happy to provide additional photos and videos if it's necessary after today.
okay.
Sorry. For a visual, you want me to describe a visual? Would that help at all, or not really?
Not
I
really.
understand. Unless you're
Yeah.
well, that's what I was saying. Unless you're standing there, it's really kind of difficult to understand.
Right. Any other board members have any thoughts on this one?
So you're requesting a variance of 6 feet, correct?
I didn't measure it myself, so I don't know where the number 6 feet came from, but if I had to assume there was approximately 6 feet, that would be a pretty fair assessment. A standard front porch in that particular area seems to be about 6 feet in depth from the front porch of a building to the end of the steps that go down to the yard. And what happened was, I guess decades ago, somebody had enclosed what used to be a front porch that I don't have any visual evidence of, and they created a master bathroom out of it. And when my particular seller bought it, it was already renovated as such. And he just signed off on it on the inspection report that you see as provided in evidence. And no other buyer has wanted to move forward with the process until this variance has been accepted, yes. And I was instructed this is what I was supposed to do.
It's this,
Yeah, that's right.
it's that little thing they enclosed on the
That
porch.
makes more sense. I'm good with that, I think. Yeah, and JJ just showed me a picture, and it doesn't protrude past the porch, so.
Yeah. No, that seemed like a minimal. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure the number's correct, because you don't want to find yourself in this position again.
Right,
If
and
we
not
grant a
have-
variance for 6 feet, it's a variance for 6 feet.
Okay,
So,
I would think 6 feet would be
Okay.
appropriate,
All
yes.
right, okay, go with 6 then. Do anybody signed up to speak on this one? I highly doubt, but just checking. Okay, yeah, looking at that picture, I think I'm fine with it now. I just had it visualized that there was just a square box sticking out there in front of the house, but
It caught me by surprise when I was first going through this in March. I didn't really quite understand. So it's been a very educating opportunity for me, yes.
okay. I can't make a motion, so if y'all got any more or want to make a motion.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we approve case number 15077 for a variance of 6 feet.
I'll second.
Okay, and the motion, let's see, motion for variance of 6 feet, meets the statutory requirements for variance, and that's it. And it passes. Thanks.
Thank you all very much.
Item 2, case 15087, request of Austin Reed on behalf of Mustang Schools for a variance to the architectural regulations at 9201 Southwest 59th Street.
Austin Reed, I'm representing Mustang Public Schools with the construction manager that's been putting portable buildings out for them. Essentially, this one's at a,
Just a minute, can you state your address?
oh, sorry, 701 West Sheridan Avenue is our
Thanks.
address. This school was built on, I guess, a zoned residential property back in 2012,
are,
I believe. We put a portable classroom, or two, it's one building, 2 classrooms, back 2 years ago that it's the same thing we put across the district. It just comes prefab metal panel veneer. We added another one, or trying to add another one for this upcoming school year because they've run out of room. So all we're requesting to do is put the exact same building. It's within, I think, 15 feet of the other one, shares a sidewalk, but just adding 2 more classrooms out to the site. We've done it 10 times out in that district. I guess this one's just different because it's zone residential. So the request is just that we don't have to go in and add money doing a brick veneer or something different, and we can just use the pre-existing building as it comes, so.
And, yeah, it is a pretty common thing to have to get these variances because, as you said, in residential, a lot of the schools are in residential areas.
Is this intended to be temporary?
This one will be temporary, yes.
Do you
So
know how
they've
long?
added on, there's a future bond that if it passes, will add actual physical classroom space to these schools. So currently, they're essentially just catching up until they can keep up on the bond side. So they're not meant to be permanent.
In the application, it says that we've put the same portable building in 5 other sites, with one being 10 feet from where this proposed classroom is going to be. Was there a different variance for that?
So what I was told was in 2020, that was not caught at plan review, so a variance wasn't required. We didn't have to do this back in 2020, but we've applied for the exact same building right next to it, sharing utilities, and they caught it this time around. So I was a little surprised to have to talk through it. But yes, that's what this one was. It's on the same property right next to it, but there was no variance on that one. But it's the same identical building.
How does that work, JJ? I mean, do they just go non-conforming because the city missed it, or on their previous building?
This should sanction the previous one as well.
For both, yeah.
Okay, I got it. All right, that makes sense.
That was going to be my question, JJ, is whether the variance would cover both or only
Right.
one.
Yep, okay.
And you said that one was in 2020?
Yes, it was the summer of 2020 that one went in. So they've had it for 2 school years now.
Also meant to be temporary.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually last summer infilled a bunch of pod spaces in there to create more classroom space with this future bond going to extend off of one of the actual wings of the school to add additional physical.
Okay.
So would this, JJ, would this variance then allow them to do this multiple times in the future without having to come back here?
Don't think so.
If they add another one, they'll have to come back.
Okay. But this one will cover the existing
Yes,
plus this
yes,
one?
we'll write it up to
Got it.
cover the existing.
Okay.
But because they have plans to put a permanent site there, we shouldn't see them.
There should
if
be
the
no more
bond-
temporary at this site. It should just be
Yes.
permanent, yes.
Yes.
There's no more room for temporary anyway with where they have it, so.
Yeah, I was looking at that aerial. It doesn't seem like it's much room where you can put any more there.
No,
Yeah.
and they don't want any more temporary buildings. It's just kind of a last-ditch effort. They just finished off a longer bond that did not cover this school, so this future bond will cover this school and some others. They just have exponential growth out there right now that they're having a hard time keeping up.
Yeah, I only mentioned the temporary nature because in the future, I mean, this is different than other properties because it is in a residential. So I see the concern and the reason for the requirement that there not be metal. You're kind of in the middle of a neighborhood, so that would be my only concern is that, I mean, I guess for the record, stating that I could get behind this, knowing that this is supposed to be temporary.
Yeah.
So,
Would you willing to be put on a time limit on that? Like
As far as how, well,
5 years, 3 years?
in a perfect world, that would be true if that bond passes. If the bond doesn't pass, then it
Then you'll
goes,
still
it
man
stays
it,
temporary till they can
Yeah.
pass more.
Gotcha.
Ideally, that would be the case. That's the plan.
Okay,
I'm comfortable with it if they have to come back to get another one.
right.
That
you.
we can assess that then, that we don't have metal buildings popping up all over this campus in the middle of a residential neighborhood,
Yep.
so.
Anybody signed up to speak? Nope. Kitty, do you have anything?
No. It's
Ready
easy.
for a motion?
I'll move approval of case number 15087 for the reasons that it meets the statutory conditions for the variance requested.
Second.
And it passes. Thanks.
Item 3 is case 15098, request of Sam Grissom Architecture for a variance to the landscape buffer and parking regulations located at 1520 Northwest 23rd Street.
Hello, Holly Hunt with Sam Gresham Architects at 100 Northwest 23rd Street. So just a little background on this property. I've actually brought 2 different projects through at least the Urban Design Commission on this property. As it says, it's an existing building on a site. The rest of the site and half of the existing closed alleyway in the rear is paved for parking. And it's been like this, you know, for several decades. And it's sat vacant for several other years, unfortunately. So the last one we brought through was mercantile use, so the parking issue did not come into play. The current tenant is hoping to put in a restaurant, which triggers the need for more parking. Obviously, we're maxed out on parking. We are doing some improvements on the site for accessibility and so forth, adding an accessible parking stall, as well as planters to meet some additional landscaping points for us. But yeah, so the request is twofold in a sense. What we presented was option A of several that we worked with the Urban Design Commission on. And this was our preferred site plan. It means the least amount of work for our tenants, who again are leasees, trying to just get this property in use and developed and improved. And so again, we would love to keep the existing parking and really, again, maximize the parking. Still fall short by 2 with the 25% reduction that it's allowed for in the code. So we would still need a variance for the reduction in parking, but also the removal of the landscape buffer requirement, which is a part of this new zoning ordinance, but of course this lot predates that ordinance. So, and you see this a lot on that 23rd Street corridor, many of these lots have parking lots that go right up to the center line of the alley. It's an existing condition. So anyway, we can get closer to the number of required parking if we maintain the existing parking lot, and we hope that that's what we can do. So that would mean both a variance to the landscape buffer and to the parking requirement. I would also point out that many adjacent properties are parking exempt in this area along 23rd. The Uptown Design Overlay District is all parking exempt, and we don't see a lot of terrible parking overflow issues along 23rd. I'm sure you guys venture down there for lunch frequently, and you know, so there's a lot of shared parking. There's a lot of ways, and again, to go and things like this are a big part of people's business plan that are in restaurants. So we feel that we can provide ample parking as long as we're allowed to maintain that existing parking lot, at least for this structure. So hope that you'll agree, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I see you've got some bike racks and
Yes, sir.
landscaping to try to minimize the variance, which is good. I like that.
Certainly. Yeah, we applied the 25% reduction, as I mentioned, with both additional landscaping points and the addition of bike racks. I mean, improvements for the lot and the city right-of-way are going to occur with the development of this property. So
Yep.
new sidewalks, it'll be a really nice, accessible site.
Well, and I like the addition that your proposal includes the 8-foot wooded fence, which will separate the residential area,
Yes,
which
and
is very
thank you.
favorable.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Working with staff, with the Urban Design Commission and the commissioners themselves, that was a suggestion. And so we've proposed and provided a sketch to them of a very nice higher-end 8-foot cedar fence with some decorative cap work and trim along the top. So again, doing all we can to mitigate the issue of the buffering commercial to residential. But again, it's nothing that those properties aren't used to. Of course, this has been a commercial corridor for many decades. So
The staff report mentions one potentially unfavorable condition of residential homes lying to the south. Would you like to address that?
well, and that's that 8-foot fence that we were just discussing was kind of our meet in the middle. I was really pleased with the way that the commissioners approached it. They were very practical and sensible as a way. Also just understanding that a lot of these tenants that I work with and try to bring these, projects through to fruition, they don't own the property, so there is always a barrier of how much, how far they're willing to go. So I felt like that was a great compromise for everyone. And again, upon their recommendation, we provided that sketch, and it's been approved with UDC staff. So we hope that'll help with some of that.
I think that's a good compromise, given the fact that that was the only unfavorable consideration that's listed.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I think given the lengths that your tenant has gone to try to find other ways, and that it's only a 2-space. We've seen these where people are requesting 10 spaces and 15 spaces in places like Uptown 23rd or something.
Sure.
So I don't completely agree that parking's not a problem on 23rd, but but I appreciate the efforts to reduce and make your variance request as minimal as possible, because at the end of the day, that's what I feel like our one of the considerations for us is at the minimum necessary, and so I appreciate your efforts to do that.
Yeah.
And so I could get behind this.
Certainly like to provide as much as possible, and we've packed them in, all according to the limitations in the zoning ordinance, of course. But
Yeah, I mean, I could get behind this application, but would you be okay with us including as a condition of the variance that the cedar fence be as a part that you've already put as part of your plan be a condition of the variance?
yeah, that would be great. Yeah, we certainly intend to do that, and it'd be just a double check point for that. I think that's great.
An 8-foot fence, right?
That's correct. So a little taller, and again, more substantial, something with a decorative cap. So not terrible to look at.
Right. It should be an improvement of what it is right now. It's C3 and there's
Correct.
currently nothing, so.
And for the record, we're not going to hold you to making that wood cedar. It can be your
Okay.
choice.
Okay, sure. That'll
Because you did
fine.
list wood, not a specific type of wood.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So-
Well, I just, I'm just stating that it's certainly our intent to make it a nice, nice looking fence and an improvement.
I don't want to go and check and see if it's cedar and not pine.
Well,
you.
You got that time, Kitty.
Yeah.
Have at it. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion if nobody signed up to speak.
I'll move approval of case number 15098 for the reasons that it meets the statutory conditions for the variance requested, with the condition that the applicant include the 8-foot fence as part of their project.
What about the buffer? It was a twofold.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, well, the variance requested, the two parking spaces and the variance to the green belt
Yep.
landscape.
I second.
Oh, sorry.
Who you missing? Monica? She moved it.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 4 is case 15096, application for special exception to allow home sharing at 2849 Northwest 22nd Street.
Good afternoon. My name is Suifen Dong. So I'm here for the application for the short-term rental permit for the property located at Northwest 22nd Street.
Okay, what is your address?
It's 2849 Northwest 22nd Street.
Thank you. Tell us about your case.
Okay, so this house has 3 bedrooms. Has one. Yeah, so we have 1 king bed, 2 queen beds. So with a capacity of guests of 6, max 7 guests. And this is the driveway, so we newly made for the guests to park.
Let's see. I guess we didn't get our little maps we usually get, did we, Cindy?
Did
Is
you
there
get this
not
one?
any in the areas of these?
Did you
over
get
here?
this, Mike?
Oh, you got one? Where'd that come from? Did you?
Is that add-on at the
You
back?
get way too many emails. Yeah. Okay, so blue
In that block.
in the block, okay.
And the blue?
Just pretty colors? Okay. I don't remember a whole lot being in this area, honestly.
You said you have 3 rooms, 3 beds, and 7 guests.
And what?
Do you have like a pull-out or what?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I don't see anywhere on your application where you're requiring guests to park off-street. What is parking like in this neighborhood?
So there used to be a smaller driveway, so the guests still can pull into the driveway, park there. I don't see anyone park on the street. So in the neighborhood, everyone has a driveway.
Mhm.
So most of them park on the driveways.
Okay. Would you be willing to include in your as part of your special exception, the requirement that your guests park in the driveway instead of on the street. I just didn't see that in your list of
Okay, yes, sure.
rules.
I think it's on Monica on G on her,
Am I missing it? Where is it?
like the very last item G down at the bottom. I mean, the
Oh,
vehicles
it's on the second page, sorry.
won't be the driveway, but
Yep, got it. My only concern is I think 7 guests seems a little high, but I could get on board with this for a period of a year, but
I noticed on the vehicles will be the driveway. You probably should put
Right.
vehicles will be on the driveway.
yeah, not
All
the
vehicles.
driveway.
I'd put all vehicles.
did we have any protests on this one? I didn't get any.
Okay. I'm good with whatever y'all decide,
Okay.
for the years and stuff.
I would like to make a motion that we approve case number 15096 for a period of 1 year with parking, which is already listed, be added as part of the agreement.
Yeah, and just have it state that all vehicles will park in the driveway.
Yes.
Yeah, my apologies, I missed that one. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Oh, there's all the rest of them.
Thank you so much.
Making sure.
Thank you.
Item 5, case 15097.
You've got them.
Special exception of David Ingram to allow home sharing at 3212 Wilshire Terrace.
This is our.
Yeah, all right.
What do you need to
I
know?
just name and address and.
David Ingram. I currently live at 3040 Chapel Hill Road, Oklahoma City.
Thanks. Just tell us about your case.
Oh, how did you get the picture? Did I send that in?
Somebody did.
Somebody did.
I must have.
Can you just give us a brief summary of your application?
I guess, yeah.
Go ahead. If you can give us a brief summary of your application.
I can't hear you.
Can you give us a brief summary of your application that
Oh.
you submitted?
Well, it's home sharing. It's for 2 and possibly 4 guests. And I have the printout of some of the stipulations in that apply to the Airbnb account, like number of guests, no smoking, no loud parties, no corporate events, et cetera, et cetera. And the photograph you saw is the parking that's available.
Okay. Yeah, you've got plenty of driveway parking, right?
What?
Plenty of driveway parking?
There's plenty of driveway parking, yes. And I suppose another car could park at the curb, but that's rare. Usually
Right.
it'll be 1 car and,
We usually ask applicants if they're okay with just advertising to not park on the street at all.
I didn't know it was against the law to park.
It's not, but we usually include it as a condition for these home sharing cases,
Okay,
just to, help out the neighborhood and try to keep out
Okay,
a bunch
I
of
can do
cars
that.
out of the road. Right.
You have the same issue with your off-street parking language,
Okay.
so you need the same condition.
Yep. Okay. 8, you're probably not gonna get 20 years.
Supersedes the 10 years.
Yeah. Won't get close to that either, but
Like,
I think we have a couple of people signed up to speak. Do we, or no? Okay, just have a bunch of protests?
Yeah,
I just assumed there would.
the letter.
Yeah.
If you'd like to question one of the letters they sent in, he was right.
No, I totally understand those as far
Oh,
as
okay.
the property and the value, you know, all that stuff. I think it'll be an improvement for the property once this happens, actually. And they should, I don't know if they'll be like super pleased, but I think typically home sharing houses, they keep up better than just
Yes, they
long-term rental
do.
houses because nobody wants
Yes.
to rent a
That's correct.
ugly-looking house.
The neighbors across the street and next door are ecstatic that I'm no longer renting it. So they're quite pleased with that, and so am I.
I could say that about a few in my neighborhood as well.
So did you receive a copy of the protests that were submitted to us, the objections?
Yes, and the one, well, one had, I reviewed Google Maps and found that 3 of the 8 were not in the zone, but that, I know that that doesn't prevent them from having an opinion, but, and they were on the next street over on Elmwood, and then there was one on Wilshire Terrace who observed the behavior of my last renter, that I had to pay him $2,500 to move out because he was so unpleasant. And he basically, the one letter that was complaining that there was his son, the renter's son, was causing a lot of trouble, basically, and there you have it.
Right. And the other 2, I believe, are in your favor. So
Right, the other 2 are the next door neighbor and the lady across the street.
Right. The only thing I would probably add is just the language on the on his self-imposed rules to state no off-street parking
Right,
or no on-street parking. Sorry,
okay.
off-street only. And the guests seem reasonable. How many bedrooms is it?
I
Just 2,
advertised it
yeah.
as 2,
Right, it's got more.
but it's actually got 3 that,
No, it's okay. That's what I was saying. The
Because
max
I don't
guest
want-
is at 4, so
Yeah.
that's reasonable to me. And I believe we have 0 probably in this neighborhood, I'm guessing. I know there's none on the map because I'm looking at it now. Yeah. If there was, Cindy, you would have zoomed out probably. Yeah, okay. Okay, if no one signed up to speak, I think we're ready unless y'all have some more comments.
So I just wanted to talk to one of my colleagues real quickly. Since there aren't any in the area, and he's asking for 20 years, which we cannot grant, would you compromise on going from our normal 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, this area hasn't had as many as
Yeah.
others, but keep in mind, I mean, what we're looking at here is not the whole area. I mean, it's one, you know, it's a small
One neighborhood, yeah.
neighborhood. So yes, I mean, for this particular application, I mean, this area, we haven't had a whole lot generally. So yeah, I could get on board with 2 years.
Yeah, I think so too, instead
Right.
of just 1 to come back. So I would like to motion that we approve case number 15097 for a special exception for a period of 2 years with the conditions that are listed. And what else was there?
Well, I need to
Off-street.
send in a Photoshop or the screenshot of the off-street or the no parking on the street.
We were going to include that as one of the
Yeah.
requirements.
Okay, so do I send that in the mail or?
No,
No,
when
you don't
you
need to send us anything.
advertise your property,
I will include
you
that.
will put a statement that they
Right.
can only park in the driveway,
Right,
off-street only.
no right.
Yes.
Oh, on the street,
Definitely.
yeah.
And that will be in your the order approving your application. It'll say that language.
Okay,
All vehicles will be parked in the driveway.
okay.
Got a motion? In a second. Got it. And it's approved.
Okay, am I free to go?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, we're going to hold you. You didn't hear.
Item 6, case 15099, special exception to allow home sharing at 3919 North Pennsylvania Avenue.
I'm Jeff Saban with the Center for Economic Development Law, here on behalf of 39P LLC. Curran Fudge is the applicant. He's also here if you guys have any questions. I'd like to talk about items 6 and 7 together since they're in the same building. You'll be considering them separately, but they're both going to be subject to the same regulations.
Okay. Can you state your address? You may have said it, but I didn't catch it.
The building is 3919 North Penn.
Your address.
My address,
Yeah.
I'm at
Just for the record.
301 North Harvey, Suite 101.
Okay, thanks. Continue.
So, as I said, Curran Fudge is the applicant. He's here. The property is located at 3915 North Penn, right where Penn curves, right before the intersection at 39th Street. The specific building where units 7B and 7 and 9B are located is the middle building. You see there are 3 buildings. Each have been given their own postal address. So this property is a new, it's not a new building, but it's a new 3-building apartment complex. These buildings were commercial offices for a long time until about 15 years ago, and they've been sitting vacant, waiting for someone to come purchase and rehab them since then. So the apartment complex is going to have 20 new units. 4 of them are studios, 6 of them are 1-bedrooms, and 10 are 2-bedrooms. Units 7B and 9B are 2 of those 4 studios, and those are the only ones where we're requesting a home sharing special exception. All of the other 18 will just be standard longer-term rentals, new to the area. The property has covered parking spaces behind a security gate with the primary entrance coming in off of Penn. There is a secondary exit off of West Lawn Place in the rear, which if you look at photos of it, I didn't include any photos in the application, but basically is a glorified alley for some of the commercial businesses on 39th. This project doesn't really take any existing units or property out of the local housing market. Instead, it's adding those 18 to the area. The proposed rules, maximum of 2 guests per unit at any given time, a minimum 2-night stay. Parking would be limited to the designated spaces for each unit. Guests would have to observe quiet hours between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. And they'd have to be respectful towards other tenants and keep all security gate codes confidential to non-guests. We've requested 2 years for the special exception. If you guys do 1 year, I guess that would be acceptable, but if we can get 2 years to try to recoup some of the investment in these properties, we would be grateful. I can answer any questions, or Curran can also answer any questions if you guys have any.
I think he covered just about everything that I was going to talk about, so you could.
Are these completed already?
One of the buildings is completed and we're starting leasing. The other one will be completed by the end of the week. It's just getting cleaned up, and then the last one's like 2-3 weeks out on the side, yeah.
And these are the only two that you plan to apply for the special exception for?
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because I could get on board with this for a 1-year period. The reason being because this is a multi-unit.
Yes.
We haven't done a lot of these. I don't really know how they work in that space, so I wouldn't be comfortable with more than a year. But beyond that, knowing that that's your intention is to only turn these two into short-term. Our concern always is that we're turning a complex into a hotel, right? And you've got, you know, long-term renters there, residents there, buyers potentially. I don't know if you're planning on selling any of these, but, you know, kind of living in the midst of a motel. And so this would be the ideal space for something like that, but it makes me a little more comfortable with the application knowing that that's not your intent. But as far as a time limitation, I'd be more comfortable with along a year just because of the space that it's in. Not to mention the neighborhood, but.
I agree.
Okay. Anybody signed up to speak? No?
Monica, that motion, because you did that so well.
And I appreciate the thoughtful rules that you've put in place for these as far as the codes and whatnot. Those are things that I think some people don't usually think about. So thank you for that. If we don't have anyone else signed up to speak, I'll move that we approve case number 15099. This is for Unit 7B for the reasons that it meets the statutory conditions for the special exception requested for a period of 1 year, with the condition that the property be advertised with the self-imposed rules or code of, what did you call it? Code of conduct for the guests that are listed in the applicant's application.
Monica, he was asking for 7B and 9B.
Well,
I was gonna-
we'll have to
Oh,
do
we're
it.
going to
It's
do
a
that
separate case
separately?
number.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But
No,
we
I
pretty
second.
much know what's what's coming on that one, though.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear you say we weren't going to combine them.
Is it approved?
Yeah.
Okay, that's approved. Go to the next one.
I'll move approval of case number 15117. This is for the applicant's Unit 9B for the reasons that it meets the statutory conditions for the special exception requested, with the condition that the property be advertised with the self-imposed rules and code rules of conduct for guests listed in the application for a period of 1 year as well.
I second.
And that one passes as well. Thanks.
And item 8 is 15100, special exception of Lena Trong to 1512 North Barnes Avenue.
Okay. Good afternoon. I might have to move this. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Lena Trong, and currently our address is 824 Bertalo in Salina, Texas. But we have closed on a home in Edmond. We'll be moving there in a couple weeks. So my husband and I are requesting a special exception for 1512 North Barnes Avenue. And I prepared a written statement because I get a little nervous, so sorry. The Barnes home is a solitary home that sits along a side street, if you will. There are no front door neighbors on either side of it or even across from it. We have been living there to do our remodel since June, and we've met and spoken to all the neighbors that are in every direction of Barnes, and they have not voiced any negativity towards our desire to place the home as a short-term rental. We've also exchanged phone numbers just so we could be their first point of contact should there be any issues. On the application, we did put a max of 8 guests, but we would like to modify that to a max of 6 guests. We've designed this home to best fit families with younger children. There are 2 bedrooms downstairs that will accommodate up to 2 adults in each. And upstairs, I think it's very special. It's the largest room in the house, and we have 2 twin-size beds there on one side of the room, and a cute seating area, a little craft and educational section with lots of board games for just a lot of family fun. This home is nearly a century old, and we've kept the integrity of the home, but it is updated to modern standards and code. It will always follow city code in having working smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and fire extinguishers. I think it just went out there. We've even gone as far as adding a fire escape ladder for the second floor because we've always had that for our home as well. There is also a Ring doorbell and a Ring camera at the back patio to monitor for the security of the home, the guests, and for disturbances or rule violations. We intend to vet every guest before a booking, and that will include having a government-issued ID that matches their profile picture on the booking platform, email address to send our contract that includes additional rules and terms beyond the major booking platform rules. Guests are to be a minimum of 25 years old, and we intend on reviewing guest ratings and will not allow any instant bookings. A 2-night minimum stay is also required. Some of our rules will include no additional guests beyond the number on the reservation, no smoking, no pets, no parties, and quiet time between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Parking limitations will apply, and that will include using the driveway parking. We will be less than 20 minutes from the property and intend on managing it, and that will include all property maintenance, cleaning, host communications. As such, we will be on site frequently and will ensure the upkeep for the integrity of the community.
Excuse me. My main concern was the 8 guests, and you've addressed that down to 6, so it's better. And that's reasonable to me for 3 bedrooms. It looks like a super tiny house, but I think that's partly because of the photograph.
Yeah. I thank you, Cynthia, for putting that photograph in there because when I read the application, I was a little dyslexic and I took a picture of the street because I thought I read on street parking like the street. So she put that in there for me.
Didn't have any protests for this one. Questions, Kitty?
No.
No? Good. How many years?
This is one that I see there's 2 others
There's 2,
in the neighborhood, so I would just recommend 1 year for this one as well. Part of what we're looking at in these applications is to make sure one neighborhood's not getting too saturated with short-term rentals. Again, we don't want to change the character of a neighborhood
Right.
into a,
And I believe her next application is pretty close to this
It
one as well.
is.
too. So, yeah.
with that, I would move approval of case number 15100 for the special exception requested, with the change to the maximum number of guests being 6 for a period of 1 year.
Second.
Anybody move it?
I don't have a motion option on my screen.
Got it.
No. I vote yay.
Thank you.
And
Okay, and item 9 is 15101, special exception, the same applicant to allow home sharing at 1735 Northwest 12th Street.
Okay. Again, for the record, my name is Lena Trong of 824 Bertalo Drive in Salina, Texas. My husband and I are applying for a special exception for 1735 Northwest 12th Street. This is a cute 2-bedroom craftsman home. All house rules are consistent with those discussed with the previous Barnes Avenue. On the application for this one, we did put a max of 6 guests, but would like to modify that to be a max of 4 guests. There is a long driveway that can accommodate up to 3 to 4 vehicles, but we will not expect that at all. Same safety measures for this home, as well as the same vetting process and same rules will also apply.
this one is 2 bedrooms with 6 guests.
She modified it to
Oh,
4.
okay, sorry, I missed that. Got it. That was my issue with that one.
Yeah, again, I would recommend 1 year on this one just because it is in such close proximity and there's already others in the neighborhood, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait till year rolls around.
So, are we ready for a motion?
Yes.
I would like to move that we approve case number 1515101 for a special exception for a period of 1 year with reducing the number of guests down to 4.
Second, there we go. And it's
We
approved.
thank you so much.
Thanks. And that is the last item on items requiring a separate vote. Additional items, seeing none. Board committees, we don't have any. Board members,
We're good.
municipal council. No. Citizens, I don't see any. Other business, and motion to adjourn. I guess we don't have to do that here, do we? Just adjourn?
We need to make another committee that's just called the
The home sharing committee, yeah. I brought it up in planning commission last week. I tried to make a motion, but I was gonna just do it myself. Yeah, I've kind of thought of, if I get some money on board to develop an entire neighborhood full of home sharing, put a big fence around it, call it a resort.